What's up, you guys? This is Jay Young2 back with another video, and in this video today I'm going to be discussing the truth about the Portland Trailblazers. Let's get into it. If you haven't been watching the Portland Trailblazers lately, they have definitely been struggling. They did recently win against the Pacers, but before that, they lost like 5 straight games. And during that run to their defense, everything has just been really bad. You can thank Anthony Simmons for helping that team win that game. But looking at the Blazers, to tell you the truth, this season, it's been a pretty up and down season. CJ McCollum was out for a long period of time with injury, but when he finally came back, things were really starting to click as well for the Blazers during that run anyway as well. But when I look at the Blazers, they are a good team. You have guys like Robert Covington, who's one of the best 3-and-D players in the entire NBA. You have Yusuf Nurkic, who's a pretty solid overall center, as well as Enes Kanter, who really isn't that bad. And obviously with the acquisition of Norman Powell, he's definitely been a pretty decent contributor as well for this Blazers team. And, they have Carmelo Anthony as well, and we all know how good Carmelo Anthony is. And they have a bunch of pretty, solid young players, like I said before, and Anthony Simmons, who I believe can be a really good player one day. But overall, when I look at the Portland Trailblazers, I can discuss all the analytics and stats and everything about them. But in my opinion, personally, the Portland Trailblazers are just a team that will never get over the hump. They're already in the Western Conference, for crying out loud. And, they had their opportunity a few years ago when they made it to the Western Conference Finals, and that was, a really good run for them. But overall, when I look at the Blazers, I see a team that is, they have a superstar level player in Damian Lillard. And Damian Lillard is one of the most loyal players in NBA history. But this team, they're never truly going to win. The Blazers are that one team, in my opinion, where if they had a small forward, like if they had a guy like Paul George in their team, for a good example, then we can really discuss the Blazers as a legit title contender. But really, the truth about the Portland Trailblazers is that this team, they're one of the most consistent teams in basketball. They are a franchise that has proven over the course of like a decade now, that they are really a team that wants to be very consistent. And they've done that, especially when they had Brandon Roy back then. They had pretty much almost the same pieces around that roster, and they had the same coach at the time, and Terry Stotts, who's still the coach to this day. And speaking of him to begin with, I feel like this season, this might be his last season as the head coach of this team, because, he really, it's not his fault. Obviously, he can only do so much with the roster that he gets each and every season. But, at the same time, it is somewhat his fault too, because, he really, hasn't really made the most effective changes for this team to be really good and actually contend out in the Western Conference. And, I understand too that there's so many teams out there in the Western Conference that are really good to begin with. And it's only so much that a little team like Portland could do to begin with. And when you look at Damian Lillard, this month in April has been one of the worst months for his career overall. He's not been efficient. He's been only averaging around 22 points a game. He's been dealing with, a little injury here. And, Damian Lillard, he's a guy that's always learned, throughout his entire NBA career, really, he wants to be loyal. He wants to stay with the Blazers. He wants to help this team become a contender. But when you look at him, you look at his age, you look at the longevity of things, that time is really running out for the Blazers to really do something. And, every year, this team, they're just mediocre. They make the playoffs. They made it 7 consecutive seasons. They've always, run it back with the same squad pretty much. But when I look at this Blazers team, and I don't see them getting any better anytime soon with this roster. If they really, really want to contend for an NBA championship, they're really going to have to decide, are we going to trade away, CJ McCollum or and Nurkic? Are we going to trade away some of these guys to get a bigger piece to complement around Damian Lillard? And, just in general, having CJ and Damian Lillard, this is one of the best backcourt duos, as we all know, in the entire NBA. But to be quite honest with you, they haven't really accomplished much. Yes, they've made it to a Western Conference Finals, but that was only because of teams dealing with injuries and that such thing. but they rely way too much on this backcourt to generate their offensive ability anyway. And, Damian Lillard's always the guy who has to step up and really carry this load for this team. And we've seen that happen right now because of this bad month in April of him having to do so much for this Blazers team. That they really need a guy like a small forward level player to really help this team out. Getting Norman Powell was a really good acquisition, as I said earlier before in this video, but he's not really going to put the Blazers over any type of hump. And then they had a Robert Covington, but even having Robert Covington, who's one of the best defenders as well in the NBA, the Blazers are still 29th right now in defensive rating, and offensive rating they are 6th. They are really good on the offensive. They've always been really good on the offensive end of the basketball court. But now as well, that now they're a 7th seed, they have to play in the play-in tournament. And the Blazers, they are just a team, in my opinion, that is just mediocrity. I'm not really trying to hate on the Blazers right now because I really like Damian Lillard and I like what he represents, especially in terms of just that loyalty factor, because most NBA players, they say it, but they truly don't mean it. He's a guy who says it and he truly means it because he's been with this team for so long and he's really tried to help put the Blazers on the map. And, he's been a huge part of that Blazers community at Portland just in general. But as we all know, when it comes to all these other star level players, and especially a guy like Damian Lillard, who's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day, most of these guys, their legacy is going to be even higher if they are remembered as a champion. And for Damian Lillard, that may be something that never actually happens in his NBA career, especially with him still being a great player. What's going to happen when he starts to decline in his game? What are the Blazers really going to do then? I feel like personally, in my opinion, trading away CJ McCollum can help, but that may still not actually accomplish anything as well. Maybe deciding to go into a new direction and build around their young core might be the best bet for this Blazers team, but I seriously doubt that happening because this team, they are pretty, they're pretty fine with them consistently making it to the playoffs each and every year and, settling. Also, the amount of money that they have to pay Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum in general takes up just about all the team's entire salary cap just to begin with. And looking at the Blazers and the level that they are right now, this team each and every year we see they make it to the playoffs. They make it into the first round, they possibly go to the second round, and they lose. And that one time that they made it to the conference finals was really well. And from the beginning though, especially when LaMarcus Aldridge, Nicholas Batum, Wesley Matthews, all those guys who left that team during that time when the Blazers were a really good team, especially then, they left Damian Lillard cold, dry turkey. They just left him there. But CJ McCollum stepped up to the plate and really became that guy next to Damian Lillard. And we've seen this team really thrive over those last few years, and especially them proving people wrong that they will still be a really good team in the future. And they did. They really came out of nowhere, but they've already established themselves as a team that is a consistent playoff team, but a team that will never truly make it over the hump. And that's what we're seeing still to this day. So until the Blazers decide to make a new move or hire a new head coach, which is probably going to happen this offseason, hopefully then we can see a better direction possibly for Damian Lillard and his time in Portland. If not, then I would really trade him away so he can actually compete for a championship for a really good team. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more basketball content. Have a good day. Peace.